Breaking news! Ancient Fox Loli destroys capitalism! If you wondered if the Helpful Fox Senko-San has a deeper meaning, this would almost be it. The only catch is, she failed. Before any of you say, ew, Plato-Senpai is a Marxist, or yay, Plato-Senpai is a Marxist, calm your opie and listen. Like in the rest of my videos so far, I'm not necessarily judging one way or another the idea that I'm presenting. I'm simply making the claim that the idea is present to some degree in the show. And that idea in this case is not Marxism. Instead, it is more of a postmodern critique of capitalist society. So let's keep things simple and dive right in. Oh, and here is your obligatory spoiler alert, since I will be talking about the series in detail, especially the end. Senko is an 800-year-old kitsune sent to take care of Nakano, an average mid-20s office worker whose efforts go unappreciated and who is often guilt-tripped into staying at the office longer than he should. One night he comes home from the office to find Senko waiting for him with a big smile and a delicious dinner on the stove. Obviously, this causes Nakano to panic for two reasons. One, how the hell did she get into his apartment? And two, it is going to look really, really bad if other people see a loli cosplaying as a fox doing domestic chores for an adult man. But Senko obstinately stays with Nakano and reveals her mission to dispel the darkness that envelops him. As the anime progresses through a wonderful series of adorable hijinks, it ends on not one but two somber yet hopeful notes. What most people catch, and what might just make you tear up a little, is that Senko has to face the fact that she is immortal, but Nakano is not. Yet she chooses to go back to him and care for him for the rest of his life, knowing she will lose him one day. Of course, as the series reveals, this is not the first time she has undergone this experience, but we will get more into that later. But it is the second somber note that should interest us more. As the series concludes, Senko must suffer the verdict that after 1 year of caring for Nakano, she has not yet dispelled the darkness that frequently overtakes him. In fact, it has only grown stronger. To understand why, we need to be blunt on what the darkness represents. It is the toxicity of the modern workplace. And that toxicity is just one of the symptoms of capitalism. According to a great variety of thinkers, particularly critical theorists and postmodernists, capitalism has an alienating effect on people. Not only is this claim easy to make, but it is difficult to refute. While so-called postmodernist thinkers like Gilles Deleuze and Jean Baudrillard make remarks about the flows of capital and its increasing encroachment on every aspect of society, or the totalizing effect of capital on the human subject, we need not deal with the more technical arguments to see the point. As some economists contend, in the last couple years, wages have either stagnated or fallen, while the cost of living continues to rise, at least in the US. For many people, this means having to work more hours or take on second or even third jobs just to survive. And to put things simply, the more time you spend at work, the less time you spend with your family and friends. We can clearly see here how capitalism appears to alienate people from one another. But also, contemporary capitalism relies on consumerism as its driving force. The increasing consumption of goods and services, whether they be necessities or luxuries, by individuals requires a faster rate of spending and more money earned to be spent. So in order to fuel my growing manga addiction, I need to earn more money faster so I can spend it more quickly on more manga. See? Even weebs have economic woes. But Nakano is not a greedy consumerist. In fact, the poor dude hardly has any time to himself. However, he is not entirely without luxury. After all, in his paltry spare time, he plays video games. But this is something he ostensibly does alone. We don't see him hopping on Xbox Live and playing Fortnite with his friends because he doesn't have any friends. He works too often to have that. But even when Shiro repeatedly beats him in one of his favorite games, the experience is all the better because there is someone to play with him, even if Senko is jealously pouting in the background. But to get more to the point, the Helpful Fox Senko-San can be considered more specifically as a commentary on modern Japanese work culture, which in many respects is an accelerated form of the domination by capitalism. But the critique need not be limited to Japan, as I have already shown. Senko has to intervene in Nakano's life to dispel the darkness by first and foremost addressing his isolation. After that, she does everything in her power to pamper him to his heart's content, providing him with good food, a clean house, warm baths, and even booze. On that note, it is worth mentioning here that alcohol is increasingly featured through the last several episodes of the series. This doesn't mean that either Nakano or Senko are becoming alcoholics, but it does demonstrate Senko's increasing desperation to make Nakano relax. This in itself could be a way of representing the real-world working class's dependence on alcohol to cope with their circumstances, and this dependence and its adverse effects, including deaths, are rising, at least in the US. But Senko's problem overall is her strict reliance on providing material comfort, when such an approach cannot address the new demon that is the postmodern condition. The postmodern condition includes the alienation by capitalism, but is also defined by the loss of meta-narratives. A meta-narrative is a belief that mankind is inexorably on his way to a definitive endpoint of history, and these beliefs serve as the core driving principles of civilizations. Examples of meta-narratives include Christianity, which believes in the inevitable return of Jesus to bring eternal life and everlasting joy to his faithful, and Marxism, which classically believed that human history was inevitably on its way to a utopia where all people were equal and no one suffered poverty or injustice. But Senko is now entering a world no longer guided by such visions. Indeed, the first time she came into the world and cared for Nakano's ancestor, which was her first experience with loving and losing someone to mortality, it was in early medieval Japan where people still by and large held religious beliefs, and had some idea of where their souls were headed in the grand supernatural scheme of things. The very fact that it takes semi-divine intervention to remedy Nakano's ills is quite possibly a testament to this loss of meta-narratives, particularly religious ones, but it is precisely this loss of belief and direction in life on Nakano's part that renders Senko impotent to deal with his problems in the end. When dealing with Nakano's ancestor, all Senko needed to do was provide the material comfort. A sense of place in society and the universe was presumably already present in his life, but no such luck for Nakano, and by no fault of his own. So while Senko can continue to pamper Nakano with material comforts, the one thing she cannot do is the one thing that would solve the problem. She cannot give him a sense of place, purpose, or destiny in society, let alone the cosmos. Much less could she restore to society its lost meta-narratives that would have been guiding Nakano in the first place. Nevertheless, she valiantly resolves to keep on trying to save Nakano until the very end. And if that resolve gives you, the viewer, hope, then perhaps that was the goal of the anime all along. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, you know the rules of YouTube etiquette. Like, subscribe, and share this video. And I would love to see a debate on this subject in the comments below. This is Plato-Senpai, and I'll see you in the next video. Stick around.